Hey guys, hope you're having a great day today. Today we're here for the Wisdom Lunch, and I'm Pastor Jim, and I'm here from Bay West Church, and we're here to talk about Proverbs and show you how easy it is to study God's Word. A lot of people think it's difficult and hard, but it's really not. It's really not at all. So what we're going to do today is what we do every day is we take the day of the month and we go to the chapter of Proverbs that corresponds with the day of the month. Today's the 25th, so we're going to go Proverbs chapter 25, and I'm just off the cuff, verse by verse on the way through. Just follow along and see what God tells you as well. It's not that hard. It really isn't to put the Bible in your life every day. So here we go. Jumping into Proverbs 25. This is New Living Translation. Here we go. So these are more proverbs of Solomon collected by the advisors of King Hezekiah of Judah. And all the book of Proverbs is just wise sayings said by Solomon. Solomon was considered at the time to be the richest, possibly per capita, in ratio, the richest person that's ever lived. He was one of the most powerful men on the planet, if not the most powerful person on the planet. He was also the most knowledgeable and learned at the time. And he had this great mix as well, as he was considered the wisest man. So you're talking about somebody, and he studied everything. Solomon had a really wild life. And when you think about it, all the things that he went through, and so just take a look at it. So we're talking about somebody who has major experience in a lot of areas in the earth, and so he's in the world. So he's sharing some things with us. So we'll jump in at verse 1. So these are more proverbs of Solomon collected by the advisors of Hezekiah of Judah. It is God's privilege to conceal things and the king's privilege to discover them. And I think that's not just the king's privilege. He's talking about himself, but I think that's our privilege. A lot of times people say science put science and religion at odds. No, I think science just tries to explain how try to figure out how God does the things that he does. But they're not really at odds at all. It says, no one can comprehend the height of heaven, the depth of the earth, and all that goes on in the king's mind. So he's just saying, I'm thinking about a lot of stuff. That's what he's doing. Verse 4 says, remove the impurities from silver, and the sterling will be ready for the silversmith. In other words, that's what they do with silver. They try to remove the impurities because pure silver or pure gold is considered more valuable. And then you find in verse 5 what he's saying by that: remove the wicked from the king's court, and his reign will be made secure by justice. So that means the people that you have around you, the people that you have in your organization, the people you have on your leadership team, and things like that, those make a difference. And if you have wickedness there, it's going to make it hard. But if you remove them and you put just, righteous, good, competent people there, your reign, your area, your responsibilities, what you deal with will be better. Verse 6 is, don't demand an audience with the king or push for a place among the great. It's better to wait for an invitation to the head table than to be sent away in public disgrace. And I think that's true. I think in our world, a lot of times we're just all about promoting yourself and pushing your way to the top and all that. But and there may be a choice that's necessary, but it's always better to be invited to it, for people to recognize who you are. There's another proverb here. It says, don't praise yourself with your own lips. Let others praise you. And I think this is a matter of someone else bestowing honor on you and you just trying to be the best person you can be. Verse 8 says, just because you've seen something, don't be in a hurry to go to court, or what we do in the end if your neighbor deals you a shameful defeat. In other words, that goes back to what we've talked about in Proverbs earlier, where it's talking about don't be, the first to speak sounds great until the cross-examination begins. It's talking about it's shameful to speak without knowing all the details. We've read that in the past week or so. And the same thing here. Make sure you know just because you've seen something, make sure you understand it before you go running off trying to tell everybody what it's all about. And sometimes just don't even do it. It says, when arguing with a neighbor, oh, here we go. When arguing with your neighbor, don't betray another person's secret. And that's another reason you need to watch your temper, because that's the best time. If you know something that you want to drop a bomb, and that's the time to do it, you have to watch that. Don't betray another person's secret, because others may accuse you of gossip and you will never regain your good reputation. And that's something to remember. We can recover from mistakes and God can forgive us, obviously. That's true. But it's a cost, and it's a wound, and it's a scar. And so best to never just not do it to begin with. Verse 11 says, timely advice is lovely, like golden apples in a silver basket. So whenever we get the right word at the right time, it's always great, and very valuable. Verse 12 says, to one who listens, valid criticism is like a gold earring or other gold jewelry. The first thing usually people do when they're criticized is they start defending themselves. I want to challenge you not to do that. Have the first thing you do when someone criticizes you is take it in and decide, is this valid? Listen to it. Is there anything in here that's valid? Maybe not the whole thing. Maybe the overall thing is not valid. Maybe there's pieces of it that are valid. Take the valid things that are valid criticism, and if it's valid, take it in and try to improve it. How would we ever get better if we didn't know we were wrong? But then I would say, and that's valuable. That's like a gold earring or gold jewelry. But what I would never do is, well, what I try not to do, I'm bad to do it sometimes, is if it's not valid, I just stew. I don't want to stew over it. I don't want to keep it with me. Throw it in the trash. Get rid of it. That's what you need to do. Verse 13 says, trustworthy messengers refresh like snow in summer. They revive the spirit of their employer. Always want to have trustworthy employees, trustworthy people that work with you, because that you can say, hey, will you do this? And they say, yes, I'll do it. And they take care of it. A person who promises a gift but doesn't give it is like clouds and wind that bring no rain. That's terrible. And it's hard because sometimes we fail, sometimes, but what I say to that is I've told people before, especially people who work with me and work for me, don't say you're going to do it if you have no intention of doing it. Don't just say it to please someone in the space and then find a reason not to do it later. That's not okay. Let your yay be yay and your nay be nay, and disappoint them up front. If you're not going to be able to do it, then say, I'm not going to be able to do that. That's going to be hard. Or I need some help doing that, or maybe not by that time, but don't promise it. And then and when it's not going to be that way. Verse 15, patience can persuade a prince, and soft speech can break bones. We often think that yelling and impatience and pushiness and all that stuff is what gets us across the finish line, but often that does not solve anything. We might get an immediate reaction, but we haven't changed our heart. We've created a wall and a barrier we're going to have to deal with later. A lot of people are pushy and angry and yell. And what happens is later on, people are less apt to go with what they say because they just expect them and they become noise. So patience is good. Soft speech is good as well. Do you like honey? Don't eat too much or it'll make you sick. Or too much of a good thing, I guess that would be. Don't visit, and here it talks a little bit about it in verse 17. Don't visit your neighbors too often or you'll wear out your welcome. You can have a great visit. You can have a great thing, but you just keep going back to it and you can wear it, slam out, and nobody wants to do it again. It's okay to leave a little bit wanting more. Telling lies about others is as harmful as hitting them with an axe, wounding them with a sword, or shooting them with a sharp arrow. Don't do that. One thing God hates is lying lips, and it's just damaging. It's not worth doing. So, and honestly, in politics nowadays, especially, you see people that they like to do that, like just tell something or be vague about it or insinuate stuff, and it makes it so that they can damage their opponent and get over them. And that's terrible. It's terrible. It comes back. It gets inside your heart. And I tell you, here's one thing that's dangerous as well. Once you do that, then you wonder, are people doing that about me? Because they're like, everybody's like me, and without, and it makes you all suspicious. So verse 9, so just don't do it. Verse 19 says, putting confidence in an unreliable person. Oh, the trustworthy messenger. Putting confidence in an unreliable person in times of trouble is like chewing with a broken tooth or walking on a lame foot. It hurts. Nothing gets done. It's just uncomfortable and you don't want to do it. So make sure, one, if you're a person, be a reliable one. If you're going to trust somebody, make sure they're reliable when you trust them. Or it's not going to go well for you. Not going to go well for you. You just tell somebody you just trust them anyway. It's going to bust you in the head. That's what's going to end up happening. All right, singing cheerful songs to a person with a heavy heart is like taking someone's coat in cold weather or pouring vinegar in a wound. There's a verse in Corinthians. It says, rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. And I think sometimes when someone, especially when someone has a heavy heart, sometimes you just got to go be with them there. Just singing a cheerful song and trying to make them smile too fast, that doesn't help. Sometimes you're going to have to wade through the struggle with them. Verse 21 says, if your enemies are hungry, give them food to eat. If they're thirsty, give them water to drink. Why? You will heap burning coals of shame on their head, and the Lord will reward you. So that's great. You not the burning coals on their head, but what it means is you make them feel bad because you're being kind, you're being the bigger person, and then the Lord will reward you on top of it. So it's better to do that. A lot of times that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure they get it. They get stuck when they did stuff to us, but that's not how we need to do it. Not how we need to do it. Verse 23, as surely as a north wind brings rain, so a gossiping tongue causes anger. So I tell you, I've told people in church, just as far as church goes, and I think this goes for friend groups, I think this goes for organizations. Gossip is cancer. It really is. It eats you away from the inside and it will destroy you before you know it. So don't do that. You're going to cause a problem. It's going to happen. It's better to live alone in the corner of an attic with a quarrelsome wife in a lovely home. What it means is, obviously, the size of your home and your financial possessions and all those things don't hold a candle to having good relationships and quality people around you, which is another thing that was talking about earlier when it's talking about trustworthy messengers, not relying on unreliable people. Good news from far away is like cold water to the thirsty. To the thirsty. Why? It's coming from far away. You don't see it coming, and all of a sudden here it is. That's great. If in verse 26, if the godly give in to the wicked, it is like polluting a fountain or muddying a spring. And I really want you to think about that. Because there'll be times that you'll be in a situation, or maybe social or in work, and you'll be really tempted to give in to someone's intention, even though it's not the right thing to do. You feel like it may be better for you, but it's not. It's polluting a fountain. It's muddying a spring. Those are not good things. You don't want to let that into your heart. Hold your integrity as long as you can. Hold the line as long as you can. Keep going with that. And if you fail and you pollute the fountain or muddy the spring, then you need to go apologize to the Lord. You need to repent of that. You need to turn around. If there's a way you can make amends, do it. Verse 27, it's not good to eat honey, too much honey, and it's not good to seek honors for yourself. There you go again. Let others' lips praise you. Don't push for a seat at the head table. Be who you are. Be confident in that. Verse 28 is huge. A person without self-control is like a city with broken down walls. What is a city with broken down walls? It's left unprotected. And often with a person without self-control, they find themselves in all kinds of dangers with health problems, whether it be relational problems, where it might be legal trouble, or where it might be just any kind of thing. So just be ready for that. Watch out for it. And that's our Wisdom Minute for today. I will talk with you later. I'm Pastor Jim.